So as you can see, we're out riding the 2020 YZ250FX again. Actually, this ride happened quite a while ago. I haven't given the FX a lot of love recently because I'm kind of waiting for the weather to clear up just a little bit and so I can get it up into the mountains. This bike is a sweepstakes bike. I'll be giving this away June 15th, which doesn't give me a ton of time to be able to get this up in the mountains. Starting in May and June, that's when we can get up in the mountains, mostly in June. And so what I've wanted to do is keep the hours down on this bike so that then when some of these mountain trails start opening up, I can then just go put some hours into the bike up in those mountains. So that explains why I haven't put out a ton of content on the bike, because I wanted to keep the hours down on it until I could start to at least kind of get it up into some of the single track trails that we have here in Utah, which with the timing of the sweepstakes, it's going to make it really hard, but I will try to do that on those last final days that I have the bike. Hopefully I'll be able to get up there in the mountains and just start ripping some single track on it, and then those videos will probably have to come out after I've given the bike away. But that's why you haven't seen a ton of footage on the Yamaha recently, is because I'm trying to keep the hours down on it. Same thing on the Beta 300RR. I want to get it up into more of the mountain type stuff rather than just this desert stuff. And so I haven't put out a ton of content on those bikes because I haven't been riding them for those purposes. Anyway, but something that I have been thinking about quite a bit about this Yamaha, and I might have mentioned this in other videos, but I have ridden it here and there. I rode it with my boys the other day. There's this kind of like private little off-road track that I've been going to, and I've been turning laps on that track. And I have either my son record me, or I'll just record it on my helmet cam and then come back and then just time the laps out. And the funny thing is, like, sometimes people will say, oh, the YZ250X or this YZ250FX is fun, but it's not as fast as my 450. Dude, that's a bunch of bullcrap. This bike is so freaking fast. I've now done laps up on this little private track thing on 3 or 4 different bikes. I am sometimes within a tenth of a second on my laps. It doesn't matter whether I'm riding a 302 stroke, a 252 stroke, a 254 stroke. I am within tenths of a second. Now these laps take me about 100 or about a minute 40 to go through. So in 100 seconds, I'm within a tenth of a second, and it doesn't matter which bike I'm on. And so far, the YZ250FX, I'm just as fast on it, and I'm faster in some cases on the YZ250FX. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't have as much power. It isn't about power. It's about how the bike handles, how that power comes on, and how much speed and momentum and energy you can carry through a corner. And just because you have 450 power doesn't mean that you can carry any more speed. We're big Supercross fans here, and although Supercross has been delayed, we sit there and we watch time qualifying and practice, and so often the 250 guys are just as fast, if not faster, on qualifying than the 450s are. Now, there's a few reasons that you could say, well, the 250 guys get to qualify before the 450 guys, so the tracks are faster. But still, they're just as fast. They have it's just the riders in the 250 class generally aren't as good, or at least it isn't as deep as the talent of the riders in the 450 class. But this bike, this 250FX, literally has given me confidence to do things that I haven't done on any other bike. There are doubles that I have double jumps in just like random little places that I have totally passed on for years on my other bikes. But this bike, I'm out there and boom, I will go hit that double. There are drops that I have done. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that drop because I'm not that confident on it. And then I've gone ahead and done it on this bike. It gives me more confidence than just about any bike I've ever had. And I have to say that is a huge thing with this bike. Now, people have been asking me a couple times recently, well, Kyle, is this 2020 YZ250FX your favorite 4-stroke of all time? Because I went on record saying that the 2019 Beta 390RR was my favorite 4-stroke. That's a really, really good question. And maybe I should do a podcast on that, like an entire podcast dedicated to that. So far, just with my initial thoughts of this bike and the Beta 390, I don't know. I feel like I can have kind of a cop-out answer and say, like, look, I like them both. I haven't been able to ride the two bikes back-to-back because I gave back the Beta, and so it's really difficult for me to say definitively between the two. But here's what my thoughts are as I've had to contemplate and think about it. I think if I was only going to have one bike, like if I could just have one, and it was going to be the 4-stroke, I think it probably would be the Beta 390, and the reason why is because it just has a little bit more low-end torque, and so it's going to be a little bit better suited for all-around riding. You know, if the going is slower, I think the Beta 390 would have some advantages, and it can also get out there and rip in the desert like this one. If I had two bikes, let's say you say, okay, Kyle, you can have two bikes. One of them is going to be a 2-stroke. The other one's going to be a 4-stroke. I'll take this one. I'll take the YZ250FX, because then I'm just going to say I'm going to take the Yamaha only on these wider open faster trails like what you're seeing right here, because it is an absolute joy blast to ride in those situations. But this bike isn't very fun to ride when the going gets slow. It just isn't, you know, whereas the Beta 390 is a little bit better suited to handle that type of terrain. So I don't think that means that I like the Beta any more than this one. It's just that if I could only have one of them, because of how I like to have a broader variety of terrain in my riding, then that probably would suit the Beta 390 a little bit better than it would suit this 250FX. You know, but it's mostly a 4-stroke thing. You ask me if I'm just going to have one bike, it's going to be a KTM 250XC, because it can handle everything that you throw at it. Every single thing. There's not a single thing, you know, you're going to struggle on that much with that bike, versus a bike like this one. There's a lot of things that you would struggle on, you know, and I think you'd struggle maybe a teeny bit less on the Beta 390 just because of the fact that it has a little bit more power. So anyway, at least a little bit more power down low. So that's what I've got for you guys today, and hope that you're having a good week and that you leave a single track. Thanks.